the vertical method is in workshops, is more traditional. So it's a top-down situation where the director or the facilitator is telling people exact things and people respond or not. In the horizontal situation, which is what we have here in BIDE, it's quite unusual, and it's one of the things that attracted me to here, that it's much more democratic, and instead of a top-down situation, we're all more or less on the same level. So we have a facilitator who, of course, will guide the laboratory or the workshop, but it is then equally open to other people to put forward their suggestions. And for example, yesterday, I felt one could then, if one has an idea, one could then maybe not lead the lab, but it's open to a person giving their opinion, say for 20 minutes, half an hour, and then somebody else, and then back to the original facilitator. And then in the end, we collaborate to come up with, say, a structure for a showing or a structure for a performance. In my own work, I have to admit, I was very much, I've had my company for about 13 years. I was very much through nerves and inexperience, I was more or less a dictator. I would come in and say, okay, this, with very little leeway for the dancers to have their own input. Now, 13, 14 years later, I'm a lot more open, a bit more relaxed. Maybe if you talk to my dancers, they might disagree. But I'm willing to take their input within a certain frame of what I'm looking for. Obviously, people can't just suggest anything off the top of their heads. It has to be more or less within what I'm working in and what I'm looking for. So yes, I'd say I was a bit more into the horizontal mode, though in my own work, at the end of the day, I have the final decision. It's my decision. It's funny because recently we turned a dance piece of mine into a film, and I'm collaborating with a friend, an Italian colleague, Luca Trufarelli, and people warned me and said, oh, this is maybe not a good idea, but actually because we come from totally different backgrounds, we actually work very well together. So he brings his film expertise and I bring my choreographic knowledge, and between the two it really works well. So I'd say we have just made one dance film, and we were still talking to each other at the end of it, and we're now planning another film. A laboratory for me is a facilitator will suggest a topic. For example, yesterday we did a laboratory on focus. So it was open to all the participants to come up with their ideas as to what focus meant for them. So, for example, in yesterday's laboratory, we examined near focus, focus in the distance, focus between people. And what we discovered, well, maybe I always knew it, but anyway, what we discovered was that the focus doesn't carry to the audience unless there's a very strong intention behind it. If it's just a general thing of, oh yes, I'm focusing and I'm looking, but I'm only superficially looking, from an audience point of view, that looks like a mess. It just doesn't carry. But a focus full on with every bit of your being behind it. You know, you're not thinking about something else. You're focusing on this. All energies is directed to the one thing. That, I think, makes the difference. So that's just an example of one lab that we did. Last year in BIDE, I also did, with Kio Benetti, I did a nice Buto lab. I knew nothing about Buto. So we had a very interesting running around in a circle for 45 minutes, which I found very challenging. But at the end of the morning, I realized it was all to basically empty out the body. So in the afternoon, when we got out into the garden to do the Buto dance, which again I knew nothing about, I felt we could imbue a little bit of what, not what she wanted, but what she was trying to tell us about Buto dance. So that was just another example of another lab. I think maybe people interchange workshops and labs, but I think in a BIDE context, a lab, I don't know, I suppose has a different leitmotif. Again, because it brings on board all the horizontal elements that I talked about earlier. It's funny because last year when I was at BIDE, various people were suggesting that perhaps the performance element not be part of BIDE. And I have to say I was totally against that idea, because dance for me is a performing art. And of course we have 5 days of laboratories. But I think it makes perfect sense, and also the way they time it here, they do it after 2 days of labs, to then have a performance for the public. And okay, it's not an actual finished performance, a finished piece, but the audience sees, I suppose it's a snapshot of what we've been doing. So I feel, well, part of my reason for coming, one of the small reasons for coming, is that I like performing. So I'm very much in favor of this happening. Through phases of questioning my work and questioning whether I should continue. And I actually hit a little low point. When I came to BIDE and met people from all around the world who spend their time doing what I do, which can be actually quite isolating for part of it. And then when you get into the studio, meet the dancers, and then you rehearse and all that, that's a different end of the process. But also if you're asking what BIDE gave me or gives me, one of the main things for me as an artist was the respect that Sebastian Garcia Ferro, who run BIDE, the respect that they give to the artist, that was really a wonderful feeling, because of course I will do it anyway, whether one has respect or not. But sometimes I think people's perception of art or dance is a bit, oh yeah, but does it pay? So it comes down to payment and salaries and all that, which of course has nothing to do with why we all do what we do, whether we dance, we choreograph, whatever. So yes, respect for the artist, this mutuality or commonality where I know Facebook is a virtual world, but still I have a lot of Facebook friends from BIDE, from Argentina, where I went to the BIDE last year, also from Barcelona, and from now I'm collecting my name, so I can, in down days, they will support you on various things you're doing. They say, oh yes, I like that, or that's a good idea. So it's the equivalent of, I say in the old days, of talking over the garden hedge to somebody in a neighborly way. That this is, because of technology, this is something I can literally take these people with me. I mean, I may see them again, I may not see them for years.